Hi, my name's Troy Casey. I'm one of the co-founders for Australia's first Indigenous Startup Weekend. So this one I'm going to talk about how did it all happen, where did it stem from, who was involved. So I work at QUT as the Indigenous Employment Coordinator when we started all of this with the other co-founder, Dean Foley. So Dean was a trainee, an Indigenous trainee in the organisation, and we'd had so many discussions about how do we create a better Indigenous community and how do we create a more Indigenous businesses. We talked about this at a great deal, and Dean was really passionate about it. He'd tried entrepreneurship before and he lived and breathed it. For me, it was completely foreign. It's like when you buy a new car that's a red Ford and you've never seen a red Ford before, but once you buy a red Ford, you see them everywhere. And that was my journey into entrepreneurship and Startup Weekend, innovation. Look, ever since then, I never have looked back. Dean and I discussed how do we create more Indigenous businesses when certain organisations who are meant to support them aren't necessarily doing the right thing. So we looked at these startup weekends powered by Google and Techstars. So there hadn't been an Indigenous one in Australia. So this was going to be the first one of its kind, and we really wanted it to be a powerful movement for those that were involved. So Dean and I got our heads together and sort of put them down, and whilst I was doing a full-time job, I did a lot of the organising and arrangement of this during the evenings. So I was working 16-hour days for a couple of months there to get all this happening. I got a background in journalism, so I could do all the marketing and communications material, and through my previous roles doing stakeholder engagement or being the national partner for corporates, I had a lot of corporate connections to bring the sponsorship to the table as well to make it happen. Dean put in a grant through Advanced Queensland, so shout out to those guys for making it all happen as well. And then the ball started rolling. So once we got all the sponsorship and we had the event and the facilities, it was about really making sure that we had the participants there, because it's all well and good to have something, but you need the people there at a startup weekend to make it all happen. So look, we promoted this thing far and wide. We used our LinkedIn, we created Twitter, we created a Facebook page. To be honest, I'd never used Twitter in my life prior to the startup weekend. But very quickly learned how to use it, and we went to an event, many events actually, to promote this, but one of the events we went to was at Microsoft, and the guy there who was the program manager for their innovation stuff, he said, "Oh, do you know I've never actually seen a startup weekend get as much coverage as this on Twitter as the event you guys are having." So proud moment for me figuring out Twitter and making it such a groundbreaking event. But I think, me and Dean are both now passionate about entrepreneurialism. I mean, Dean was always engaged and involved and wanted to go down that route. But for me, it's been life-changing. I never thought of entrepreneurship. I just thought it was business, I didn't think it was such a thing. But now I'm into social entrepreneurship, social innovation and social change, and it sort of just fits with my character. I don't really call myself an entrepreneur. I call myself a social change agent, because I wanted to create a better world, particularly for my community. Dean's gone off and Dean sort of travelled down that startup world. He's now running an Indigenous Accelerator program, Barayamal, out of the Capitol building, which is awesome. It's going to create more opportunities for Indigenous people to do startup businesses. And I've created a not-for-profit and a social enterprise that I'll probably talk a little bit more about in the next instalment.